All right, buenos dias. Good morning, my loves. All right, so again, today we are going to start our Thursday morning work. We are going to start with PEMDAS. Do not forget, when you're doing the multiplying, dividing, and adding and subtraction, you just go, as you see it, through the problem from left to right. So we are starting with this problem. Oops, sorry, that's an ugly 8. All right, so we start at the top. We start with parentheses, and this time we actually have 2 sets of parentheses. When that occurs, you need to always start with the inside set and move out. And it makes sense because this set is smaller than this set, if you look at it. Okay, so we are going to start on the inside. So that is going to be 2 times 12. 2 times 12 is 24. We're going to keep it back in the brackets, but go ahead and finish the problem like that. Okay, the brackets do count, times 2. The brackets do count as a set of parentheses, so again, you do those first. 8 plus 24 gives you 32. All right, and now we're just left with 32 times 2, which is 64. Ooh, if I can get it written. Okay. All right. Beep, 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 boop. Okay, our next problem is going to be find the product, okay? So we are going to find the product of 2/5 times 2/3, okay? If you'll recall it, you just go straight across when you're multiplying by fractions. Top times top and bottom times bottom. So 2 times 2 is 4. 5 times 3 is 15. There is no way to reduce that, so that is indeed our simplest form, okay? Need to get some erasing music here. Okay. Next, we are also going to find the product, but this time we are going to do it with decimals. Okay. Again, I like to rewrite it vertically instead of horizontally. It works better for me. And working with decimals, when you multiply, you just ignore the decimals until the end. So proceed as normal. 8 times 4 gives me 32. I'm going to carry the 3. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 3 more is 19. Again, 8 times 2 is 16, plus 1 more this time is 17. And now it's just a matter of counting. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 times that we are moving our decimal. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and your decimal will end up right there. So it is, wow, this is a big one. 1,792 10,000ths. Okay. All right. Okay. Our next box is going to be find the quotient, just like it has been all week. So let's start with our fraction one. We start with 3/5. We are dividing it by 1/8. Okay. Our procedure, as always, is to drop, change, flip. We're going to drop the first one. We're going to change it to its opposite. Losing my mind this morning. Our opposite expression, and then we are going to flip the second one. Okay. So we just go straight across. 3 times 8 gives me 24. 5 times 1 gives me 5. Okay. It is improper, so we just have to tip it over. How many times will 5 go into 24? It will go 4 times with 4 left over. So we put that 4 back over the 5. Okay. All right. Okay. Our next problem, again, is dividing with decimals. As we know, you can have the decimals on the inside, but not on the outside. So first step, move those decimals. We're going to move them twice. So now we have the whole number of 3. You can even erase that 0 if it makes you feel better. And then we do the same to the inside. 1, 2. It's right here now. We move it straight up. Do not forget to move it straight up. Keep everything lined up. The problems I'm seeing when y'all are getting your decimals in the wrong places because you're not lining those things up right. All right. How many times will 3 go into 0? It will not. How many times will 3 go into 1? It will not. How many times will 3 go into 12? It'll go 4 times. So your answer is 4/10 on this one. Okay. Okay. Next we have our adding and subtracting fractions. Okay. So we're starting with 2 3/5 plus 1 1/8. Okay. Before you can add with fractions, you have to have the same denominator. So we're going to move our whole numbers over. Okay. And what number will both 5 and 8 divide evenly into? Okay. If you don't know what you do your multiples. I always do the multiples of the larger one. So do the first 5. So you've got 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. We look, we say, which one of those will 5 go into? Well, in this case, it is 40. So we have to change them both to 40. Okay, how did you get from 8 to 40? You multiply by 5. So 1 times 8 is, oh Lord help me. 1 times 5 is 5. How did you get from 5 to 40? You multiplied by 8. So you say 3 times 8 is 24, and now it is possible to add those up. So 24 plus 5 is 29 over 40. 2 plus 1 is 3. 29 cannot be divided by anything. It is a prime number, so that is your answer. Okay? All right, our subtraction problem, we're starting with 2 3/5 again. We are subtracting 1 1/8 this time. Okay, same thing. Move the whole numbers over. 2 minus 1. As we discovered, it was 24 over 40 and 5 over 40. This time we are subtracting those. So 24 minus 5 would leave us with 19, and 2 minus 1 leaves us with 1. So our answer this time is going to be 1 19 over 40. Okay. Okay. Next we have another input-output chart. Okay. So we have our X for input, Y for output. Okay. Remember, whatever you have in this column matches with is what's in your problem, and the Y column is going to be your answer. So we started with 1 and 5, 3 and 9, 4 and 11, 7, and we don't know what, and then something, and 27. So we have to find what the rule is, okay? So always start simple. The simplest thing is adding. 1 plus what gets me to 5? Well, 1 plus 4, okay? 3 plus 4 is 9. No, it's not. So it's not a simple adding one, okay? Then we try multiplying. 1 times what is 5? 1 times 5. 3 times 5 is 9. No, it's not. Okay, so this is how we know it's not a simple adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing one. Okay, we knew it wasn't a dividing or subtracting because the numbers are getting bigger. All right, so always start at the beginning. Again, I don't like to do it with the 1 because so many things you could do to 1. So let's start with the 3 to 9. See what we get. All right, so I like to start simple and just go times 2 and see what happens. Okay, 3 times 2 is 6. So how would we get to the 9? Well, we'd have to add 3 more. All right, let's see if that works for our other 2, the 1 and 5 and the 4 and 11 group. Okay, 1 times 2 is 2, plus 3 is 5. So it did work for that one. Let's try it down here. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 3 more is 11. So that is our rule. This is our rule for this one. Okay, so let's apply it up here. 7 times 2 is 14, plus 3 more gives me 17, okay? And the 27, we're going to have to work backwards because, as I said, that's the answer slot. So you're going to start with 27, and you're going to, do it in the opposite order. Subtract 3, and then divide it by 2. This is the only time where you need to make sure that you do it in the subtract then divide order, because you're doing the opposite of how you got to the answer in the first place. So 27 minus 3 is 24, and 24 divided by 2 would give you 12. Okay? All right, we've got one more problem that is working with the input-output chart. Let me erase these. We'll get that one set up. Okay. All right, so our last problem with the input-output chart, we have an input of 1 with an output of 0, 3 and 4, 4 and 6, 7 and we don't know what, and something, and 20, okay? This one's a little bit more confusing because at first, if you look at the 1 and the 0, you're like, oh, that would be a subtracting or a dividing one. But if you'll notice, the other numbers are going up, okay? So this, to me, tells me this is probably going to be more than just a simple problem. We're probably going to end up having to do something like a multiplying and, honestly, we're maybe a subtracting after that, because somehow you got to get from 1 to 0, and the other numbers have to get bigger. Again, I'm going to start with the 3. And let's see what's going to happen. So because these numbers are getting bigger, and I know it's got to be a twofer, I'm going to try multiplying first to see what I get. Obviously 3 times 1, it's not going to get us anywhere. So we'll start with 3 times 2. So if we do 3 times 2, how would we get it? That would be 6. So how would we get it back to 4? Well, we'd have to subtract 2 out again. Let's see if that would work with the 4. So 4 times 2 is 8. And then if we subtract 2, we get 6. So that worked. Let's try it on the 1 now. 1 times 2 is 2. And then if we subtract 2, that gets us back to 0. So that is working. Okay. So come apply it down here to 7. 7 times 2 is 14. Minus 2 would be 12. Okay, and again, we have to work backwards from the 20. So we're going to take that 20 and we are going to, remember, do the opposite first. So since we multiplied first, we're going to add first this time. Since we multiplied, we have to divide, because again, opposite to get from the answer back to where you started. So 20 plus 2 is 22. And then if we divide 22 in half, we end up with 11. All right, babies.